You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Okay, here we are, another day in the Banana Republic, the Soviet United States of Russia here, and they got Trump in court again. And, you know, today is this very weirdo judge. This judge, he is just a weird guy. He's like a skinny Bernie Sanders type. He's this guy, very, very weird guy.
So he looks like Larry David.
Yeah, a little bit like Larry David. And this guy, as opposed to being funny, thinks he's funny. And of course, he's corrupt. And this is the guy in the property appraisal business, okay? And President Trump came out of that courtroom pissed. And
he was really mad.
I'm going to play the audio of some of this. And I've seen Trump many times. President Trump is a very calm, cool, collected dude. And he came out of this courtroom pissed.
I've never seen him
like
angry like that before. He wasn't yelling, nothing
you could
like
see it
that.
In his face.
But I think we got a taste of what Trump is like in negotiations when he's dealing with people, and it's
absolutely
very intimidating.
So I'm just going to play this. This is Trump. He came out with his lawyers right out of the courtroom in this New York case today, and he's plenty ticked.
As I say, murders are going on as you stand here, and they're wasting everybody's time for many months on this case where banks got paid a fortune, a lot of money got paid money back, didn't even need their money. It's some of the great companies. We have to go through this. So this just broke, but before I discuss that, why are we trying a case that the appellate division of New York State has just ruled recently that we won 80% of our case? And this judge refuses to acknowledge the ruling, which is very plain for all to see. We won, as you know, it had to do with Ivanka, and it had to do with other things. It had to do with the statute of limitations, where they wanted to go back to 200 years ago, 500 years ago. It was limited, very much limited, and it amounted to about 80% of the case was won by us in the appellate division. And this rogue judge, a Trump hater, the only one that hates Trump more is his associate up there, his person that works with him. And she's screaming into his ear on almost every time we ask a question. A disgrace, one other goodness, a disgrace. So this rogue judge refuses to acknowledge the fact that we won 80% of this case in the appellate division, including statute of limitations. You know, in the statute of limitations, you have a period of time. He wants to go back so far that nobody's ever even heard of such a ridiculous thing. So we won the case in the appellate division, and this judge refuses to acknowledge the appellate division, meaning he's got contempt for his own court system. Nobody's ever seen that before, where he refuses to even talk about it or acknowledge it. And the Attorney General is a total corrupt. She's a corrupt person, a terrible person, driving people out of New York.
Okay. So I don't know quite yet what the deal is with this clerk whispering in the judge's ear all the time. Is he like, is the clerk like the judge's handler? I don't know.
Sounds like it.
But I'll tell you this. I saw Letitia James, too, today on TV, and she is a criminal. She's a bad cop. She's misusing her authority. You know, she's, a couple weeks.
It sounds like they're all abusing their authority.
They are. And let me tell you, one of the things that has them panicked about Trump is that they've been doing a lot of very illegal, corrupt things, and they fear him coming back into the White House and people getting arrested. People, listen, this is like a pre-coup what they're doing. They got 5 cases against President Trump now. They're hauling a president of the United States into a courtroom. You know, I was watching a Mark Dice video a little while ago, and he had a very frightening video out today, Mark Dice. I like Mark Dice. He's interesting guy, and I followed Mark Dice for many, many years, guys, many years. And you know, you don't hear me compliment some of these other guys that talk too much.
I love Mark Dice.
I think Mark Dice is awesome. And he had a video today on YouTube, Mark Dice, and it was like it's titled it was either what Trump is up against or what Trump is facing, something like this. And I watched it, and it was a history of the FBI and some of the things that they have done. And a lot of it I knew, but there was one thing I did not know that Mark Dice shared about the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover. And he went through a lot of things, how J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI went after John Lennon and Janis Joplin because he thought it would hurt Nixon's reelection chances and all this stuff. But there was one.
They also got rid of Charlie Chaplin. I mean, they got him out of the country.
Well,
Charlie Chaplin. He went to England and they wouldn't let him come back.
That's right.
And he never got to come back to America till he got his honorary Academy Award. But he never got to move back here.
Yeah, but Hoover was probably dead by then. Okay, when that happened,
he was vindictive.
Yeah. So, but anyway, he told his story about J. Edgar Hoover. Mark Dice on his video today. J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI, and Franklin Roosevelt that I had never heard before. And it was so crazy. After I saw the video, I went and looked up this information, and I'm surprised I've never heard about this before. And I imagine maybe some of you have, but I have not. And I'm going to share it with you. But when I was growing up, and we would hear all these things about J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI, even though he was the director, I think, for 8 presidents. I never really believed it. I thought the truth was somewhere in the middle, but I never believed all of these J. Edgar Hoover conspiracy theories because they seem so outlandish. And then we see what the deep state has done to Donald Trump, and I know they're now all true. Okay, they're all very, very true and scary. True and scary. And this one here, it doesn't show just how devious J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI are. It shows what a terrible person Franklin Roosevelt was. And,
well, we know that. I mean,
this was worse.
He wouldn't let the Jewish people come here during World War II. Oh, no, he turned away that ship.
FDR
he was a radical socialist.
FDR did 3 things, other than this new one I just learned from Mark Dice today, that I'm sure he is burning in the fiery pits right now. 1, he wouldn't allow the Jews escaping the Holocaust to enter the United States, sent them back to Europe. And many of them died in the Holocaust. 2, he refused as president to sign anti-lynching legislation, federal anti-lynching legislation, because he thought it would hurt his voting base in the South because the Democrats were doing the lynching. 3rd, the New Deal that he celebrated for all the time was racist and excluded blacks. African Americans were not permitted to participate in most anything involving the New Deal. But and there's a thing he actually did with the New Deal. Then I'll just tell you this real quick, and then I'll get to Mark Dice. There's a lot of slave narratives that you probably have read. Some of them are in books, some of them are on websites, some of them are in history books, some of them are in textbooks. And it's stories of slaves that were very old in the era of the Depression who were talking about what it was like being a slave. Now, keep in mind, they were children because...
I just saw a video with 2 slaves on Facebook the other day.
Okay, well, let me tell you about that. And this is... and most of the stories that these slaves told during the Depression make slavery not sound that bad. And the reason that is because part of the New Deal, it excluded blacks, but a lot of industries got money for the New Deal to do work. One of those was out-of-work writers. And the New Deal paid writers in the South to go out and interview former slaves. So here you are in the height of the Great Depression. Everyone's broke and hungry and out of work, right?
Yeah.
You're a black person who used to be a slave. You're very old. You're in the deep South. You're in Mississippi. You're in Georgia. You're in Louisiana. And some white Democrat racist writer comes to your house to find out how his grandpappy and great-grandpappy treated on the slave plantation. What are you going to say? If you don't say good things, you're going to get lynched.
Well, exactly. I imagine, it was so traumatic, obviously, living that way.
They lied to the writers because they
were afraid. They probably lived in fear their whole life.
Exactly.
Even though they were no longer slaves, they had that trauma. And they were children. So the Depression was in the 30s? So these were people 50 years,
these are like 50, 70,
60, 70 years later.
Yeah.
So they were children? Still, that is major trauma. And they probably lived in fear their entire life of being enslaved again.
And if you
like Whoopi Goldberg.
And if you told some white Democrat, racist, white writer in the 1930s during the Great Depression that you were mistreated on the plantation, you were done. They'd have the Klan come to your house. So those slave narratives that people talk about when they're looking at the antebellum era, whitewash, the slavery area, none of those are valid. And I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me on that. Mm-hmm. When I was in college, I studied a lot of this stuff, and it blew my mind. Oh, but back to Mark Dice and Roosevelt. So those are things that Roosevelt was responsible for. And the thing about the narratives, Roosevelt is responsible for these false slave narratives of slaves talking about how good master was to them. Okay, it's all nonsense. Okay. Now, this is what I heard on Mark Dice today, and I verified this after. And I don't really need to verify anything Mark Dice says because I've never known him to say anything that was not accurate. He's very credible. But this one was just something I'd never heard about before, and I was interested in learning more because it was a couple of sentences in his video today. But anyway, here's the story, and this is what Trump is up against, okay? This is what Trump is up against. When Roosevelt was president, he thought that his wife was having an affair. So he had J. Edgar Hoover investigate Eleanor Roosevelt. And so Hoover put a team of agents on this and found indeed she was having an affair. And
with a woman, I'm assuming.
No, it was actually with a man,
That's shocking.
which is
they always wanted you to think she was gay.
She probably went both ways.
Probably.
Who knows? But so Hoover goes to President Roosevelt with this evidence that his wife Eleanor was having an affair, and what FDR did shows what an evil person he is, how evil the FBI is, and what Trump is up against. And here's what happened. FDR wanted there was an entire team of FBI agents investigating Eleanor Roosevelt. They had all the evidence of her affair. Okay. So FDR did not want this information to get out. So he told J. Edgar Hoover that he wanted the agents killed. So what they did is FDR had them sent to the South Pacific during the height of the Second World War and had them stay there beyond any normal tour of duty in very dangerous situations to get them killed. Now, I don't know if they all were killed.
How did you verify this?
There's many people have written about this over the years. And I was shocked that I've never heard this. So the agents that investigated her and found the proof,
got the proof. So to keep the story from getting out, he had those agents sent to the Pacific
at the height of the Second World War in frontline combat situations.
Exactly what
to
King
get killed.
David did when he met Bathsheba. He sent her husband to the front of the line and he died.
Now, of course,
that's right out of the Bible.
While they sent those agents to die to the South Pacific.
Wow.
Hoover, of course, had all the evidence to use against Roosevelt.
Of course.
And this is how bad and dirty things are. And the reason that Trump is today in this absurd court where this judge in New York thinks he's a property appraiser and can value President Trump's properties, including here in Florida, it's because, as crazy as this sounds, President Trump has led a very squeaky clean life. And I must tell you, I was shocked about this too. And when he first announced and they started going after him, I thought that President Trump was this billionaire playboy too, but that was just an image that he created. I mean, obviously he had some wild times when he was single.
Like
and stuff.
Dean Martin, he had the image of being a big heavy drinker and a womanizer. And his kids, when they interviewed them, they said that was all an act. That he was a homebody. He was a good husband, a great father. He never drank. Yeah. He was a teetotal or whatever they call it. And that it was all an image.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing.
So when I saw President Trump sitting in court and this criminal Letitia James outside and you see these other cases that he's dealing with. This is, by the way, the fifth case he's involved in, and it's a civil case on his property values and his worth and all this. Because President Trump has led such a squeaky clean life, they have not been able to find anything on him that they can use to blackmail him with, like Eleanor Roosevelt's affairs and FDR wanting to get the agents killed who investigate. You know, all these other politicians have very dark secrets that they could use against them to get them to bend to their will. And with President Trump, they have not been able to find anything because there is nothing. So as a result of that, they're in a lot of their panic, a lot of the anxiety and these that they have is since they have nothing on him, they can't buy him because he's too rich. They can't blackmail him because he's got no dirt. So they in their anxiety state. This is something they've never dealt with a politician. So they bring these fake cases against him.
Exactly. In fact, that is proof that the guy is squeaky clean because
it's amazing.
They've had to make things up about him. Everything they've told you on the news, the Russia thing, Stormy Daniels, all this stuff is all made up BS. And the reason they've had to make it up is because they got nothing on the guy. They even got his taxes after talking about them for years and years and years. They've had them for about a year now. Have you heard anything about them? I promise you, if there was something bad in there, you would know. I promise you.
Well, Kathy,
nothing.
Nothing.
He's totally above board and on the level with everything he does. He's a respectable businessman, but they think he's like a thug.
Letitia James in New York is the one who got his taxes a couple years ago now.
Exactly.
And obviously she found nothing in it. Now, so far as his net worth, I'm not going to go through the whole story again because we've talked about it a lot. Mm-hmm. But Eric Trump says that some estimates of Mar-a-Lago value it at over $1 billion in net worth.
Absolutely.
Mar-a-Lago is the largest home in Florida that has someone living in it. The other home that's the largest home is called Vizcaya. It's in Miami. It's a museum. Nobody lives there. And Mar-a-Lago isn't just a home on prime real estate. Yeah. It is the best real estate in America. Without being a Florida person who knows Palm Beach, it's hard to explain, but it has water on both sides. One of them is the Atlantic Ocean, and it is property on the Palm Beach Island that it rivals any other property in America. On top of that, it's a very expensive private club that has a lot of revenue generated to it through the memberships. It's also a place where people have events all the time. You can rent, you can have a party or a wedding or anything you want at Mar-a-Lago. You could. Plus, it's also the home of a president of the United States, and they valued it at such Eric Trump last week showed some current listings.
It's laughable
in Palm Beach. In the area, places that aren't on the water are valued in 30s and 40s millions. And this case in New York is going to evaporate over his property valuation. And I think so. And I'll tell you why. Where Mar-a-Lago is in a place called Palm Beach Island. There's West Palm Beach, which is where the airport is, where President Trump lands, Air Force One, Trump Force One land there. Palm Beach Island is where the most exclusive people live, where Mar-a-Lago is. That's where the Kennedy compound is. Rush lives there. Sylvester Stallone, Rod Stewart, Howard Stern. Just
the neighbors alone increase the value. And we talked about this with my stepmom, and she said Rush Limbaugh's widow just sold her house for $150 million. And that's not a resort. That's just a regular house.
And not only that, they're going to tear down the house and build something new. That's just basically for the land.
The property's crazy.
And Rush Limbaugh, you guys, I've made videos up in that area, and you may have seen it. Rush Limbaugh's mansion obviously is in a beautiful place and everything else. It's not where Mar-a-Lago is. It's slumming almost compared to Mar-a-Lago. But see, here's the thing.
Yeah.
The list of the rich and powerful that live in Palm Beach Island, most of them we don't even know their names. The people that are billionaires that run these massive corporations, all of the rich, powerful masters of industry in New York and in Washington live in Palm Beach Island, where Mar-a-Lago is. The reason they do that is because we don't have a state income tax in the state of Florida. So they may work in New York, but their primary residence is here. Dr. Oz has a mansion down the street from President Trump. They have their mansions here so that they don't have to pay state income tax in these other states. So what this judge and Letitia James has done, and I'm sure this has hit the radar of people already. It had to. So he valued Mar-a-Lago. I can't remember if it was 8 or 18 million. It doesn't matter. It's worth
18 million.
18 million. It doesn't matter, 8 or 18. It mattered to me, but it's small potatoes with the numbers up there.
Absolutely.
If Mar-a-Lago is only worth $18 million, and the Trump family says it's worth close to $1 billion because of all the things I said, all these masters of industry, politicians, international corporate people, all these people, their mansions on the beach that are worth hundreds of millions, some of them, have now been devalued by tens of millions of dollars. If this judge and Letitia James get their way and the value of Mar-a-Lago is reduced to $18 million, the richest, most powerful people in the world, not just the United States, who call Palm Beach Island their home, have just lost hundreds of millions of dollars, some of them each, in the value of their property. Some of these people have 2, 3, 4 properties, and they have big house on them and multiple houses. So because these rich people are not going to let their hundreds of millions and their tens of millions evaporate because of Letitia James. So these powerful people will make sure that Trump wins this case.
I don't know about that. I think there's enough people that hate Trump that would probably sacrifice the value of their home to see him get jammed up.
I don't think so.
These are sick people. And you have to understand, people that are in positions of power, judges, politicians, why do they go into that line of work? They don't go into that line of work because they want to serve the public. They love power. That's why they go into that line of work. They love to have power over people and over their lives. And they said on the news today that this judge was smiling and grinning from ear to ear.
Yeah.
He was so freaking happy that this was happening. And this is what you're dealing with. People that have been obsessed with taking Trump down for the last 7-8 years. They hate this man more than any bad feelings they have about themselves or in their own life. They have channeled it to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And it's a sickness with these people. And I'm telling you, they would sacrifice their livelihood, some of them, and their own families to see this guy go to jail. That's how sick they are. And this judge, I know what you're saying. He devalued this, but you're dealing with a corrupt judge, corrupt juror, whatever. If they have a jury, I don't even know too much about this. Letitia James.
No jury. The judge.
Okay, well, there you go. So it doesn't matter what evidence they present to this guy. He's the ruler there. He's like a king in that place. They're going to have, whatever happens, they're going to end up appealing it. I promise you.
These powerful,
he will not get a fair trial with this guy.
These powerful people.
I promise you. I don't think so.
The most powerful people in America are not all of a sudden going to lose $80 million value on their home.
I don't know how a judge making this valuation is going to
because if the judge, I've seen some here in the local news. This hasn't really made an angle in the national news that I've seen. But in the local news here in Florida, I've seen real estate agents from Palm Beach Island said that if this stands, all the property here is going to be devalued by billions and billions of dollars.
Maybe
not. And it's going to cause a real estate crash in Florida. And this is another example of Ron DeSantis's abandonment of Florida. That this could cause a real estate crisis. He should be defending Trump. Now, I want to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. Guys, thanks so much. You know, those of you that are Patreon supporters, your help really means a lot to us, and it does make the program possible. And if you'd like to become a patron of the program, there's a link in the episode description, and there's also a direct link on my website, briancraigshow.com. There were many perks and benefits to being a Patreon supporter. And also you get access to exclusive content that Kathy and I post on our Patreon page. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you on every episode. So the names you'll hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, Rome, Wisconsin, Mike P., Maria in Texas, Melissa, Carlos, Paulette, John, ActicFox, Heather, David, and Richard. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all for your support. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, oh man, we've only just begun. Don't go anywhere, guys. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will be back right after this quick break.
Are you looking for unique handmade jewelry that tells a story? Then look no further than Lincraft.design. Lincraft Design is your one-stop shop for exquisite earrings, necklaces, custom pet bolo ties, and stunning 3D pet portraits. Whether it's a gift for yourself or a fellow pet parent, the designs at Lincraft Design will bring joy to you and the gift recipient. Visit the store at Lincraft.design and explore the world of artisanal jewelry and artwork. The store's founder, Lindsay, is from Dublin, Ireland, and has a passion for blending tradition with modern creativity. Each piece at Lincraft Design is a work of art, inspired by Lindsay's muse, Squire, a regal feline with a personality that shines through in every creation. You'll find his charm and playfulness woven into every piece. Whether it's exquisite Irish handmade jewelry or a captivating 3D pet portrait, you can be sure that it's crafted with love and care. Lindsay pours her heart and soul into every creation, making them truly special. Lincraft.design, where tradition dances hand in hand with creativity. Discover the magic of handmade jewelry and art that's uniquely yours. Don't miss out. Start shopping right now at Lincraft.design. You'll find great holiday gifts too. Lincraft.design. Do you need fingerprinting services? Whether you're a school, a business, or running a nonprofit, when it's fingerprinting you need, A1 Rapid Live Scan and Mobile Fingerprinting has got your back. No more running around town. With their standout mobile service, they'll come right to your doorstep. Booking's a breeze. Just go to their website, livescanfingerprintingsac.com, and you'll be on your way to professional fingerprinting anytime, anywhere. With their cutting-edge digital fingerprinting capture tech, expect nothing but swift and precise results. But if you need that old school ink style, they're experts at that too. Local to Sacramento, California, and nationwide service is available. You can call them directly, 916-587-7561, 916-587-7561, or online at livescanfingerprintingsac.com and book your appointment. A1 Rapid Live Scan and Mobile Fingerprinting, where your fingerprints meet precision and convenience. Have you ever felt the urge to investigate the world's most puzzling mysteries? On the Deceptive Reality Podcast, they do just that. With hosts Bert and Nick, the Deceptive Reality Podcast work to decipher enigmas that challenge our very perception of reality. They take a deep look at unsolved cases, baffling phenomena, and more. The Deceptive Reality Podcast is more than just about the mystery. It's about the story, the people, and the beliefs surrounding it. They explore every angle, from ancient riddles to today's perplexities. Bert and Nick offer insights for both believers and skeptics. It's like detective work for the curious soul. Add Deceptive Reality to your podcast playlist and share the podcast on all your social media so your friends can tune in too. Amateur sleuths, ardent skeptics, or just lovers of a great story. Decide for yourself when you listen to Deceptive Reality. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, and DeceptiveRealityPodcast.com. Join the quest where reality is stranger than fiction.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. I saw this story online today from my hometown, Columbus, Ohio, and crime is through the roof in Columbus, Ohio. And Columbus, Ohio, I've not lived there since I was a little kid, and I moved to Florida like in 1981-ish, 81, 82, I moved to Florida. So I've been here since I was 10, 11 years old. But Columbus is my hometown, Democrat town. And it has gone down the tubes. In fact, it's gone down the tubes so much. They took they took the statue of Christopher Columbus down, which was in the middle of the downtown area. Yeah, I used to drive by on the school bus every day to school by this massive statue of Christopher Columbus, and they determined that it's inappropriate, so they took it down, and it's bigger than you imagine. And I remember when I was in school, in elementary school in Columbus, they found a time capsule in the foot of the Christopher Columbus statue. I don't remember what was in it or what year or anything. I was a little kid. And they hid that somewhere, maybe put it in a museum. They've even talked about changing the name of the city. They were suggesting changing the name to Flavortown or something. I'm serious. Very weird.
Flavortown.
Flavortown, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and Guy Fieri called it Flavortown. on an episode of something he did.
That's just stupid.
And, my family, most of my family are native Ohioans. My grandfather was a 35-year plus police officer in Columbus, Ohio. My parents went to high school in Columbus, Ohio. My grandfather was born in Columbus, Ohio in 1899. So I got long ties to Columbus, Ohio. And it's a great city. It's a big city. And I always loved Columbus, but it's not the same. In fact, there's a YouTuber that I watch. His name's Justin Scard, and he lives in California, but he travels around America and makes YouTube videos. And he went to Columbus, Ohio, and I called my mom, and I said, Mom, Columbus, Ohio is a dump now. Columbus is not what it used to be. She's like, yeah, I was just there.
Brian, none of these cities are what they used to be. Well, I remember when I went to San Francisco when I was 13, and it was just beautiful. I was like amazed. We went to Alcatraz. We had a great time. And it was just a beautiful city. The food was incredible. I loved it there. I was like, man, I'd love to live here. And now it's a total S-hole. I mean, these Democratic leaders just destroy everything.
Well, so there's a crime wave going on in Columbus, Ohio. In particular, there's a major crime wave of vehicle theft. Oh. And I found a story on the local news in Columbus. And it's a funny thing. This local news station, when I was in third grade, we took a field trip to the TV station, and it's this same TV station that did this story. So, are
any of the anchors still there?
Oh, no.
I know, that was like 40 years ago?
The anchors are in the ground somewhere in Columbus. Yeah, they're dead. They were old then. But anyway, this mother, her son, has been stealing cars. And she keeps trying to get the police to keep him in jail. So he's 17. He keeps stealing cars. And she wants the police to keep him in jail. And he feels invincible because he keeps getting out because they got one of these Soros prosecutors there. So I want to play this. This is the local news in Columbus interviewing the mother who's trying to keep her son in jail to save his life. All right, so let's play it. This hits home to me because it's my home. I lived in Florida most of my life, but this is my hometown. And even though, in Florida, you have Florida natives like Kathy. Right. Our daughter's a Florida native. And then you have us Yankees that moved here. Even though I've been here since 1981.
The carpetbaggers.
Yeah, I've been here since 1981. I'm not a native Floridian, even though I call myself a Floridian. And so anyway.
But you're really not.
You can never really be unless you're born here.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me play this.
Car thefts across the city continue with 3 incidents happening just this morning.
And now a mother of a teen who is stealing these cars is speaking out, asking for help. TV's Carly Dion spoke with her today and joins us live with more on why she's frustrated. Carly.
Andrew, Yolanda, Tiffany Hammonds says her 17-year-old son recently started down a bad path, and she's done all she could to try to stop it. Now she's wondering what more can be done if police keep releasing her son from custody.
I've been begging and pleading. Please arrest him, lock him up, do something that's going to make him pay for the things that he's out here doing.
Tiffany Hammonds says her 17-year-old son has been caught stealing cars multiple times by police, and he's driving without a license. She feels not enough is being done to stop him.
I've done almost everything I could, and it's turning him against me. He's going the opposite way and doing what he wants to do, and which is turning to the streets.
Hammond says when her son has been caught by police for stealing or crashing a stolen vehicle, they keep bringing him home.
I think him seeing that nothing is being done is giving him more of an adrenaline rush to go back out and do it again.
Between January and August of this year, more than 7,000 cars have been stolen in the city of Columbus. A little more than half of them have been Kias and Hyundais. Hammond says she fears the threat her son poses to others and himself.
Since he's left that I know of, he's crashed 5 cars. And I reported each and every one that I know of. And he's still out here.
It's not known if her son was part of the group who stole a Kia and Hyundai found at Crum Park. The Hyundai had been set on fire while the Kia was left in the pond. About 4 hours later, officers say after a 911 call, they found a group of teens inside a car near the 700 block of Thurman Avenue. The driver then rammed into a Columbus police cruiser multiple times, causing damage to the front bumper before leaving the scene. As the city calls on parents to watch their kids, what happens reports when they've done all they could. This mother hopes something is done soon.
We're trying. But once they're here and they leave again, then what? What are we supposed to do?
Okay, now see what this
poor woman.
Well, I know she's an awesome mother. She's like one of the best mothers I've ever heard. Her son's 17. He's going to be 18 soon. She's trying to get him straight before he gets arrested as an adult. You know what I mean? He has stolen and wrecked 5 cars. He has no license, and they keep letting him go free.
I wonder if they have a Scared Straight program still.
Well, I remember when we were kids, and this was in Florida and Ohio. Okay, when I was a kid in Columbus, Ohio, Columbus, of course, is the capital. My grandmother worked at the boys' prison because it was in town, and the boys' prison was in town because it's the capital. And my grandmother,
what did she do?
She did weird stuff at the prison. It's kind of she worked with the prisoners. They were all kids, because it was the boys' prison. Mm-hmm. But they would do arts and crafts, teach them how to do things, teach them how to do housework, teach them how to sew and do stuff like this.
So what did she teach them?
She taught them how to do all these things. Sew, iron, take care of themselves, because these were kids that had no upbringing.
Ah, gotcha.
And there were kids, and this is so, and again, this was in the 70s, okay? And this just tells you how things are, because when I would get out, my mother was working, and my grandfather would pick me up at school, and then we would go to the boys' prison and pick up my grandmother from work. So I went to the boys' prison every day when I got out of school with my grandfather, and my grandmother would tell me about the kids and stuff in there, the boys, and some of them were actually in jail. This sounds crazy. And some of you will probably not believe this, okay? But some of you may say, yeah, it used to be that way. Some of these boys were in jail for stealing bicycles.
That's the way it used to be.
And I remember here in Florida, I was a counselor, a CIT, counselor in training, a CIT at a summer camp, and it was a summer camp, day camp, at a school, and kids would ride their bikes. And I remember one of the kids got arrested at the camp I worked at because he was stealing bicycles. And that was in Florida. Mm-hmm. So in Ohio and in Florida, they used to arrest kids and sometimes put them in jail for stealing bicycles because they want them to straighten out before they're 18.
Right.
Here you got a kid stealing cars 5 times and crashing them. And by the way, he may have stolen other cars he didn't crash. He crashed 5 cars he stole. And the mother is begging them, keep him in jail before he ends up in the penitentiary, and they keep letting him go. And this is
awful.
It is god awful, and it's not funny, and it's really sad. And this poor mother knows that her son is going to end up dead or in prison for the rest of his life because these crimes escalate. She says he's turning to the street.
I wonder, though, he's 17. If he gets caught when he's 18, then he probably will go to jail
for a long time.
Probably because he's a minor, and I know that's what she's trying to prevent.
No, Kathy. It's this catch and release thing that you have.
Well,
in all the
I'm wondering
major
though if
cities.
he gets caught you always told me stealing a car is a major crime.
Oh yeah.
So I'm wondering if it's because he's a minor, that they're letting them go because the system's too crowded, and maybe maybe they've told her when he's 18 he'll go to jail. Maybe it's
but you want to stop that before.
I understand that, but maybe that's why they're not putting him in jail.
It may be part of it, but a lot of it is the catch and release, this no bail and this catch and release that you see in the major cities. And you notice there's a common theme in the major cities of this, and it's where Soros has targeted all these prosecutors around the country to really be very radical and cause chaos.
Well, here's the question. A lot of people, like I said, poor woman, but a lot of people, and I can understand the thinking, they're like, she probably voted for a Democrat to lead the city, and she's getting what she voted for. A lot of people don't have sympathy for these people, and they feel these kinds of things need to, they feel these kinds of things need to happen to maybe wake people up and be like, you got to stop voting blue, or your city's going to go down the shitter, basically. And this is what's happening. And maybe that is enough to wake people up. I personally don't think so. I think people that vote blue will vote blue, most of them, the rest of their life. They could live in the biggest hellhole on earth, and they're still going to, they're just so blind to it. because they're so convinced the Democrats are going to save them when they're really creating the mess. But I'm curious, what I would ask that woman is, who did you vote for? And would you vote for them again? Do you vote, because this is a result of who you are voting for. These people get put in these positions, and these are this is how they're handling things.
Well, that's possible.
And a lot of people don't feel sorry for people like this because they're like, this is what she asked for.
I watched this interview with the mother, and I don't think this mother probably follows politics too much. She's a single mom. She's got all kinds of craziness going on, and people like that don't have time to watch the news or follow politics.
Well, they should have asked her who she voted for. I'm curious.
Yeah, but it's a sad thing, and I got to tell you, Trump has said he said this in his most couple of recent speeches in Iowa yesterday and California over the week, that he's going to fire these radical Soros district attorneys around the country. Good. That justice is
they're destroying these cities.
And it's being done by design. It's the Cloward and Pivot strategy.
What is the end goal for this? What is the end goal?
Anarchy. See, I think George Soros just enjoys screwing with everyone. He's like, if you ever watch Clash of the Titans, the original Clash of the Titans, and you see the gods have all the figurines of people in the room that they toy with. Yes. That's how George Soros is.
So he just gets off on. Like I said, these people love power.
Yeah. It's really sad, and you see a kid like this. And it's so sad, this poor mother. Now, I want to tell you guys about the Thomas Edison of sleep, Mike Lindell, quickly here. This was amazing. I've been telling you guys that we got the MyPillow mattress topper 2.0 from my daughter's guest bed at her house in California on her sleeper sofa. And my mom flew out to California over the weekend, and she's spending the week with our daughter. And I talked to my mother yesterday, and without me even asking, she was telling me how amazing the MyPillow mattress topper 2.0 is.
That's true. I heard her on the phone.
And let me tell you, it's a great gift for yourself in your own bed.
This is on a sofa bed.
Yeah.
It's not even on a regular bed.
That's right. The MyPillow mattress topper 2.0, which by the way is 50% off with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane at mypillow.com. It's obviously a great gift for yourself in your own bed. It'll change your life. Kathy and I sleep on one. It's amazing, okay? But for your guest bed, a lot of times people don't think about this. Get it for your guest bed. You don't want to have a guest staying with you and then leaving and telling everybody what a crappy night's sleep they got every night.
Absolutely.
Because the bed sucks, okay?
And then they're never going to want to come back.
And they're going to badmouth you forever. That your whole identity will be the uncomfortable bed.
It's true.
But it makes a great gift. Yeah. And I want to get one for my mother for Christmas. And I don't know I don't know what size mattress she has.
I'll ask her.
So I'm going to find out what size mattress she has because I don't want her to know. And I want to order her one. And I want to do it soon, Kathy, because the 50% off with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. I don't know how long that's going to last.
Okay.
And so we want to get one for my mom for Christmas. And the MyPillow mattress topper 2.0, which is a major upgrade on the original mattress topper. The mattress toppers come in a perfect box for wrapping. But what you can do, and I don't know, I'm going to have it brought to our house, but you can have it delivered to the recipient.
Right.
But I'm going to bring it to the house because my mother comes over on Christmas Eve and spends Christmas morning with us, and she'll have this big old box under the tree. And she'll go, "What's that? What's that?" And she's going to be like, "Oh my goodness, thank you so much." But you can have it sent directly to the recipient too, and they'll love it. The MyPillow mattress topper 2.0. One last thing about it. It has that body temperature regulating technology in the material, like the pillow, so it perfectly regulates your body temperature all year long. It's 50% off at mypillow.com with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane.
Are you craving the exotic flavors of Jamaican fusion food? Look no further than The Exotic Chef, based in Washington, D.C. The Exotic Chef brings you a mouth-watering experience like no other. Picture this, The Exotic Chef's viral sensation, the oxtail sandwich. It's bursting with flavors that'll make your taste buds dance. But that's not all. The Exotic Chef just launched their cold-pressed juices that are available for order through their mobile app. The Exotic Chef app is available in the Google Play and Apple App Store. Discover a new age take take on Jamaican cuisine, crafted with passion and love. You can order for delivery from the Exotic Chef app. Don't miss out on this culinary adventure. You can also visit them online at the-exotic-chef.com. Follow the Exotic Chef on Instagram at the_exotic_chef. The Exotic Chef, where flavors come alive. Download the app in the Google Play and Apple App Store. Satisfy your cravings today with the Exotic Chef. Parents, grandparents, and teachers. From author Monica J. Park comes a must-read self-confidence book to help girls eliminate self-doubt and become fearless of failure. The ultimate confidence book for girls. Available on Amazon. Written with care, this book is a beacon of empowerment for all young girls. Filled with thorough exercises and stories that are relatable and transformative. It will give girls a surge in self-esteem and self-worth. It's a celebration of uniqueness and individuality. It'll also share with readers the crucial knowledge of setting healthy boundaries. It helps girls on a journey towards empowerment, teaching essential life skills and inspiring a radiant, positive outlook on life. It's filled with easy-to-follow exercises that not only promote self-resilience and positive reinforcement, but also equips girls to face life's challenges fearlessly while embracing their unique qualities. Whether for school, friendships, or chasing after passions, the ultimate confidence book for girls is the perfect gift for young girls, supporting them to tread confidently in every aspect of life. Order your copy right now on Amazon and let the journey of confidence, self-love, and empowerment begin for the young girl in your life. The ultimate confidence book for girls from author Monica J. Park on Amazon. Coffee lovers, have you been on a quest for the ultimate coffee experience? Imagining that perfect cup? Your search is over thanks to Bean Crazy Coffee. With Bean Crazy Coffee, every sip will feel like a crafted journey. Bean Crazy Coffee have a wide range of handcrafted flavors. You'll journey through organic, low-acid brews and indulge in the heavenly Gordon's Caramel Roll, a tribute steeped in sentiment dedicated to the owner of Bean Crazy Coffee's father. What sets them apart is that Bean Crazy Coffee isn't just a brand. It's an experience. As a boutique roastery, they pride themselves on their artisanal small batch magic, the art of slow roasting. The process takes the organic bean and turns it into the silkiest, least acidic, most tantalizing coffee you've ever tasted. And for you decaf lovers, their decaf is full of flavor and it's all natural. Are you ready for a brew that's been passionately crafted for true coffee connoisseurs? This is the coffee you've always dreamed of. Visit beancrazy.com and elevate your coffee moments. Order your cup of perfection today. beancrazy.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Don't forget, the Brian Craig Show podcast is on all podcast platforms. Whatever platform you use, just search for the Brian Craig Show podcast, including YouTube. YouTube Music has a podcast on it. We're on YouTube Music. We're on Spotify. We are on all podcast platforms, even Audible.
That means there's no excuse.
That's right. And by the way,
everywhere.
YouTube Music is separate from regular YouTube. We also upload to regular YouTube as well. Just search for the Brian Craig Show podcast. And the reason I mention all the different podcast platforms, because maybe you'll run into a friend, they listen to podcast on a different platform, they don't know about me, you can hey, where do you listen to your podcast? They'll say Apple Podcasts, whatever you tell, the Brian Craig Show podcast, it's there. And those of you that listen on YouTube, and I know a lot of you do, when you're out driving around or doing work around the house, you can listen to us on all the podcast platforms in your on your Bluetooth on your car or something like that, and you can do a binge going back however many years we've been doing this. How many years is this, Kathy?
11.
11 years of the podcast, over 30 years broadcasting. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Most everybody I started out with in broadcasting is dead. You know what most of the broadcasters die from?
Because you started when you were 19 and they were all like your age now.
That's true. But they all die of cancer because they all smoke. And I told you, one of the guys that gave me my first job, he says, Brian, you need to start smoking a pack a day. It'll deepen your voice. That guy's been dead for years. He was a nice guy, but, he smoked. He had a bucket for his cigarettes at the outside the door of the radio station. He smoked all day. Oh, my goodness.
And then some people can smoke and and live to be 100. It's just so bizarre.
I don't know why I never was a smoker. Both of my parents smoked when I was growing up. All my grandparents smoked.
Yeah.
My mother doesn't smoke now, but my grandmother died of cancer from smoking. My mother stopped cold turkey after that. I was in shock because my mother smoked. I told you, Kathy, when I was a kid and there'd be parent-teacher conferences, my mother would smoke in the classroom during the parent-teacher conferences.
My mom's second husband would get up in the middle of the night to smoke. He dropped dead at like 48.
Oh,
he had
my
a
goodness.
massive heart attack. He was a chain, one after the other, 5 packs a day.
I don't get it.
And he would get up 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night. His cravings were so strong just to have a cigarette.
I never got it.
He didn't make it to 50.
I tried to smoke a couple times, when I was younger, and everything else like everybody else, and I just couldn't get into it. But anyway.
You just like to drink.
Yes, and I've never stopped. I'm drinking now.
Just joking.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I played that prematurely. Okay, let me get to this.
Oh, my goodness.
So Maria Bartiromo, who has the most annoying scream on television.
I don't know why she screams.
She's
just a screamer.
She had Ron DeSanctimonious on and asked him some questions. I want to play a clip of it. But, in Iowa yesterday, President Trump had a great speech in Iowa. Mm-hmm. And, his speech in Iowa, let me tell you guys, he spoke in Iowa late in the day, like 4 or 5 in the afternoon on the East Coast time, like 4 or 5 in the afternoon on the East Coast. I can't remember exactly what time he came out. He got to Iowa at 4 o'clock in the morning because Sunday morning, I was up at like 2 or 3 in the morning doing stuff around the house. I wake up early on the weekends too, guys, sometimes because I got stuff to do. He
does. I'll get up at like 4:30 to go to the restroom or get a glass of water, and you're already up and dressed and
doing stuff around the house.
Cleaning around the house. I go back to sleep till 9 o'clock.
I like getting up early in the morning when it's dark and quiet. I get so much
I promise
done.
you, Trump, I bet he goes to bed about 9 o'clock like you. You go to bed about 8, 9. I bet he's in bed by 8 or 9 and he's up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
So I was up at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning, and I get a notification that Trump posted to True Social, and it was him landing in Iowa. Yeah. And then he had that speech like 12, 13 hours later.
And today he's in court.
Yeah, the energy this guy has.
He's got a full schedule.
Is amazing. I could not keep up with him. No. And it burns me beyond imagination that they're trying to say, well, Biden's old, Trump's old, they're too old. It's not the age, it's the energy and the mental capacity. And I could not keep up with Trump's schedule. I
wonder if the people that travel with him, like Brian from Right Side, I mean, if they get worn out, I mean, he's a lot younger than Trump. Are they like, man, I mean, I just can't keep up with this guy because he really has the energy of like a 25-year-old.
Brian Glenn from Right Side has been traveling with Trump to all these things. He's part of the press pool, and he looks exhausted. And in some of these things because he's traveling so much.
Yeah.
And I get it, but Trump, I don't know how he does it. And that's why he's so successful. He's not a mortal man.
No, he's not.
He's
Batman. Well, Batman's mortal, so he's Superman.
So anyway, it was pretty amazing. So Maria Bartiromo, who just annoys the daylights out of me with her scream, that you're going to hear, she had DeSantis on, and let me play this clip. This is DeSantis is out of his mind.
Yeah.
But what I was going to, the reason I brought up President Trump, he said in Iowa yesterday that someone introduced Ron DeSantis somewhere and called him Ron DeSanctus. Yeah. I wish I would have seen that. I haven't seen that.
That's how that branding catches on. Well,
That's what Trump said.
Trump explained yesterday. It was pretty funny. He said, because DeSanctus, I'm pretty sure it's a made up word.
Yeah.
He said it's DeSanctimonious, but that's too long to say sometimes. So he's like, I abbreviated it to DeSanctus.
It's hilarious.
And it works. And it's caught on. And he's, you know what I mean? Because somebody said somebody in an interview called him that the other day. And he's like, Ron DeSantis said it's DeSantis.
Yeah.
Or DeSantis or whatever he wants to say.
It's just like when Joy Behar on The View called Barack Obama Barack Osama.
Well, then she was, she wasn't too far off.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, here's Maria Bartiromo with Ron DeSanctimonious yesterday.
You just heard President Trump. He said that his VP candidate was not on that stage.
What is up with her?
Maybe she's deaf. I mean, I need earplugs. She screams at the television.
Yeah.
It's getting worse. I'm telling you, I think she has a hearing problem.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Because she screams like somebody who can't hear.
Well, TV is different than
joking.
this, but, I wear headphones for work all day, every day for all these 30 plus years. I've been doing this. And when I first started in broadcasting, all these guys that are dead now that I was telling you about, they were all deaf. They were all deaf.
Yeah,
none of them, because they wore headphones. You've got to wear headphones when you're broadcasting on the radio or podcasting, but I keep them very, very low.
Right.
Because I didn't want to be deaf like all these guys that are dead now that he's with. All right, so anyway, let me get back to this. We'll never get to this if I keep stopping.
You just heard President Trump. He said that his VP candidate was not on that stage. Let me begin right there, Governor. If President Trump came to you and said, let's partner up, you be my VP, would you do it?
No, I'm running for president. We need somebody that can serve 2 terms.
Oh, my goodness.
That's the lamest reason to vote for somebody.
I've heard him say that. We need someone that can serve 2 terms over and over again. Like that means that, he has got these, and he's not the only one, by the way.
Yeah.
All these guys that are running in the Republican primary, Tim Scott, who I basically evaporated. You don't hear from him anymore.
I'm sorry, but he's awful.
He is awful.
He really offers nothing, and he's a big disappointment.
Well, his thing is, Tim Scott's thing is, he won't say Trump's name. He always says the former president, he won't say Trump's name. Ron
that
DeSantis,
tells you everything you need to know.
Ron DeSantis keeps saying we need someone who can serve 2 terms. They have these political gurus that tell them how to message. Okay, we need a president to serve 2 terms. Okay. Don't say his name. You just say the former president. Don't say his name, because if you say his name, I don't know, but I get paid a lot of money.
Well, they do whatever the donors are telling them to do. They control what comes out of their mouth.
So these advisors and gurus. I'm very glad he's not running for vice president. He's over 50 points behind President Trump in the latest poll. President Trump is 51 points ahead of the number 2, Ron DeSantis.
Do you think DeSantis still thinks he has a shot?
Yes. Yeah.
Can someone be so deluded in their thinking?
Well, here's the thing.
It's incredible to me.
As Floridians, at some point, Ron DeSantis is going to be forced out of this race, and he's going to come back to Florida to be our governor. And I'm not sure that he has the mental capacity to lead the state of Florida. He is in such a state of mental denial over his place. Like he still thinks he has a viable campaign. If he's that gone mentally, is he mentally sound enough to run the state of Florida?
No.
You understand what I mean, guys?
No, he sounds like Hillary. She's totally gone.
Yeah.
I mean, she's totally deluded.
Yeah, it's frightening to me. It's frightening to me.
She's still trying to push the whole Russia interference with Trump's election.
Yeah.
She can't let that go.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's not that she lost, that people didn't like her.
That's what she has to tell herself. She probably has like a bunch of mantras or daily affirmations that she tells herself before she goes to bed at night with Russian interference, Russia, you know what I mean, over and over again. So she just...
It's not you. People like you.
Yeah, she can't accept the fact that she's just a witch that nobody likes.
The thing about Mrs. Clinton, she never got it through her head that no one ever liked her.
Not even her own husband.
No, her husband people liked. He's charming, even though he's got problems. But people liked him, not her.
He had a likable personality. I know you met him and you said he's very...
I met him a couple times.
He was very likable.
Yeah.
And I don't think you could be well, Joe Biden's not likable, but we all know that story. But I think for the most part, you can't be president unless you have some likability. Like with DeSantis, he really was elevated as a governor, and the whole country would talk about him on the news.
Yeah.
Other governors would follow his model in governing their state and all this. And as soon as he started campaigning and started going around and pressing the flesh, his numbers started to drop, and that's because he's not likable at all. And obviously, when he went to Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina, the people met him, and they're like, the guy's a douchebag.
And I still stand by my prediction that he and his wife will end up divorced.
Oh, I totally agree with that.
Because he's going nowhere, and she's never going to have the life that she wants with him.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
But it'll be hard because she's got the kids. So, guys.
No, they got cute kids.
Guys don't want to marry a woman with a couple of kids like this and some bad ex-husband.
I think now I've noticed, and I'm sure other people have noticed, Michelle and Barack are basically separated.
Oh, yeah.
And all of this started when that chef got killed or died or whatever. I don't know what to say got killed, but, died. I don't know exactly what happened here.
Mysteriously.
But mysterious death. Ever since he died, something has happened with those two. And now she's taking separate vacations with Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg. And Barack is somewhere else. And I've never really seen her or him on a vacation without each other. They've always been together. And now they're like the Clintons and they're living separate lives. You know what I think it was, Kathy? All of a sudden, something with that chef, something changed.
It was, I
think they're separated now.
At the same time as the chef, his ex-girlfriend released those letters about his gay fantasies.
Well, exactly. All that kind of...
Yeah.
So you think Michelle didn't know about that and then she found out?
Listen,
there's things about her too.
It's like Hillary Clinton knew that Bill Clinton had affairs. What upset Hillary Clinton about Monica Lewinsky is that everybody else learned about it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Maybe.
So, okay, now here's AOC. She gave an interview over the weekend, and she was talking about Jamal Bowman letting the fire alarm off to stop the vote, okay, in Congress over the weekend. This is AOC defending it.
He says it was an accident. He thought pulling the alarm would open a door based on the fact that the doors to his right there were locked, and there was a sign that he said he was I think someone said it was confusing. I'll be honest, it doesn't really make sense to me, his explanation. Have you talked to him? What's going on?
I mean, listen, I think if you actually do see some of the photos of the signs, I think there's something to be said about the government's about to shut down. There's a vote clock that's going down. The exits that are normally open in that building were suddenly closed.
He pulled the fire alarm?
So what I am here to say is that House administration and U.S. Capitol Police and Jamal Bowman are an active, and he's fully participating in saying there was a misunderstanding. But what I do think is important to raise is the fact that Republicans, representatives like Nicole Maliotakis and others, immediately moved to file motions to censure, motions to expel, before there has even been conversations that are finished to even see if there was a misunderstanding here.
Okay, there's no misunderstanding. And I saw today somebody has actually, incredible. I was shocked that this happened. Some reporters have researched how many fire drills were at the schools he was principal of while he was principal, and it was like hundreds.
Let me tell you something.
That's all principals do.
When you're a school administrator, there are fire alarms all over the damn place at a school. We've all been in school. They're everywhere. And everybody knows what they are. Even if you're like mentally challenged, you know what a fire drill sign looks like. Okay, we all grew up with them. And the fact that he worked at a school and was a principal definitely was a huge part of his job. So for him to go on and say, I didn't know, is complete bullcrap. He's lying. But here's what I would do. Everybody, including Trump, is saying he should go to jail. He should go to jail. I'm going to flip it and take the other stand. Instead of saying he should go to jail, people should be saying those other guys should be let out of jail. If this guy is going to go free and not be charged, then they need to, their lawyers need to get on the get on the ball here and say, well, based on this, then these guys need to be let out. But here's what's going to happen. The Capitol Police are going to do their quote unquote investigation, and they're going to come out with their final report, just like the cocaine, and nothing to see here. And they'll tell you it was a misunderstanding. He's apologized, and we're happy with his explanation. Nothing is going to happen to this guy. But if it was Matt Gaetz, I promise you, he'd be jammed up.
Oh,
and Kevin McCarthy would make sure
and you know what? It would be the right thing to do. You know, when you're talking about setting off a fire alarm, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And I know they say it's a misdemeanor in D.C. I don't know if it's a misdemeanor in a federal building during a federal proceeding, like a congressional vote. I bet that's a felony.
Well, I'm curious to know at his school where he taught, what would be the punishment for a student?
Expulsion.
If they pulled...
Total expulsion.
I'd love to know.
I would bet you anything.
See, now, a good reporter would look into this and find out if he ever did expel students.
I bet he did.
For that. And
no
if
doubt.
There's a record of him expelling or at least suspending students. Because I promise you, in his career as a principal, somebody pulled the damn fire alarm that wasn't supposed to, and they got punished, and he administered that punishment because that's what administrators do. And I would love to know. But they're not going to look into this because journalists don't do anything anymore.
You know, it's not only a big deal. It goes to his mind state. You know, you got a grown man who's a member of the United States House of Representatives.
Yep.
A vote is not going how he wants it to go,
right.
And he pulls a fire alarm to evacuate the Congress.
Yep.
Liberals
will say that that's justified because he's doing the right thing.
There is no way that that's not a felony. And, there was a few years back, a bunch of Democrats didn't like last time the Republicans were in charge, they didn't like what was going on, and they staged a sit-in on the floor of Congress.
They're a bunch of crybabies.
The Democrats all the time stage events to stop Congress from doing their business. And these J6ers that are in prison, many of them for doing less than what he did. Right. And hey, listen, a lot of people did a lot of bad things and should go to jail. I'm not, you shouldn't be going into Pelosi's office and putting your feet on her desk, okay? I agree with some. However, there were some people.
Yeah, but the punishment doesn't fit the so-called crime.
There were some people who had no choice but to walk forward because the crowd behind them was pushing unless they wanted to. And this guy, it's already disappeared from the news. It happened on Saturday. Here we are on Monday. And other than me, who's still talking about it? I've talked about this on 3 shows. Now, I want to play this last clip. This is Joe Biden, who sounds awake a little bit. And he's talking about Elon Musk taking over Twitter.
What about what Elon Musk has done to Twitter, lowering guardrails against misinformation? Does that contribute to it?
Yeah, it does. Look, one of the things, as I said to you, when I thought I wasn't going to run, I was going to write a book about the changes taking place. And most of it's directed over the years for these fundamental changes in society by changing technology. Gutenberg printing in the printing press changed the way Europeans could talk to one another, all the way to today. Where do people get their news? They go on the internet. They go online. They go, and you have no notion whether it's true or not.
Okay. Now,
as opposed to the network news, which is always so honest.
Even though that is the most awake I've heard Joe Biden in a couple years, he's still slurring his words.
Yeah, he does sound more awake.
Yeah, but he's still slurring his words. This thing about people don't know what's true. People aren't stupid. They know what's true, and we have so many resources. People can, like this thing I was talking about at the beginning of the podcast about Mark Dice, and I trust Mark Dice. I do not fact check Mark Dice because but this one was so fantastical. I wanted to learn more about it. People are smart enough to determine what Joe Biden's really talking about. It's not that people don't know what's true or not, what's real or fake news. It's that the liberals no longer control the narrative.
That's exactly
and
right.
They used to be like I talk to you guys about this sometimes because
they think we're too stupid, like you said, to figure it out on our own.
A lot of you that are new to following news and politics since the Trump era don't remember what it used to be like. Republicans, like every other week, were like resigning from Congress for years because the news media would start okay, I'll give you a great example, okay? What happened with Lauren Boebert a couple weeks ago with that guy in the movie theater?
Yes.
Okay, they were getting some high schoolish hanky-panky going on there. I saw the video, okay? If that was before the Trump era, even if it was a woman and they were Republican, she'd be out.
Absolutely.
And the reason they would be out is because we didn't have so many media sources. All you had was CNN and the network news and the newspapers. And the newspapers were just the New York Times and the Washington Post. All the newspapers around the country just reprinted whatever they printed. And they would get a narrative going. We saw this. The last time this really happened was Sarah Palin.
Yes.
Katie Couric was talking about how Obama owes her for bringing down Palin. They started this narrative about Sarah Palin on a variety of things. They were calling her all kinds of terrible things about in college and things like this. And the media were able to get these narratives going, and Republicans were always responding to these false narratives. Well, now, and what would happen is they would start a narrative about a congressman, for example, or a governor, a Republican. Maybe it was true and maybe it was bad, but it'd come out on a Monday. By Wednesday, they would have a press conference denying it.
Yeah.
And by Friday, they would have another press conference surrounded by ministers. And then by Monday, they'd resign.
Yeah.
And
well, society has changed too, Brian. People are so desensitized to so many things, and things are so polarized now. But also, politicians have other outlets to speak about things other than going on TV and getting their 5-minute chunk of time with their press conference. They can go on Twitter and they can go on YouTube, and they have other outlets to tell their story.
That's right.
Before, they would do an interview. It would be highly edited to make them look bad.
Yeah.
And they would, but the day of the politician resigning is over. And that started with, Trump has a lot to do with it because they were convinced he'd resign so many times. That didn't happen. And then you have the guy in Virginia that got out.
The Klansman.
The Klansman. He didn't resign. Menendez. So this is a new trend with
look at Menendez. He got the
Boebert. They're not resigning over these scandals anymore. They're riding it out because people's attention span is so short. It's like a TikTok. And people are no longer outraged like they used to be back in the 80s. It's like, oh, okay, this is happening this week.
Yeah.
And there's so many crazy things happening. After a while, you just tune it out.
That's right.
And you're like, whatever, different, same shit, different day.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on with that as well. But Biden is not going to resign. Biden is not going to drop out. It's not going to happen. It doesn't matter what they say to him or what they offer him. He's making a lot more money being president than they could ever. Plus, he loves the power. And I think he's the kind of guy, if you go to him and tell him you have to do something, he's going to do the exact opposite. He's very belligerent, and he's not a nice person. He's not going to do, Bill Maher came out and said on his show, but Biden needs to step down for the good of the country. You really think Biden gives a damn about the good of the country? He doesn't care about the country. He cares about himself, and he's not going to let Bill Maher or anybody else tell him what to do. He's going to be screw you.
Yeah, and there's so much media now that a message is diluted.
Absolutely.
They just can't harp in on something or someone else. And
that's true.
Obviously, there are some instances where politicians should resign, but for the most part, they should write it out and let the voters decide.
Do you think Al Franken? Look at this George Santos. He didn't resign. Al Franken probably regrets it because these guys don't resign anymore.
Yeah, he does.
And I agree, unless they do something really bad, and a lot of these guys are bad guys, let the voters decide. Their terms aren't that long. And like this one woman who was running for Congress, or I think she was a congresswoman who was doing these X-rated movies with her husband.
No, she was running.
She's dropped away in the polls now. And
but she's still running.
Yeah, but thank God there's some morals left in this country, and even the Democrats don't want her represented. I mean, what kind of a woman is this? And she didn't drop out. Good, but the voters have decided, so she's not going to win.
And Trump has a lot to do with this because they're running this old strategy that think about it.
Yeah,
this guy, he's got like 5 court cases against him now. 3 of them are criminal cases. He
doesn't give up.
No, he's
catching on to other people.
He's facing over 1,000 years in prison.
Yep.
He's still running. Any other politician, just with like Richard Nixon,
that's right,
resigned from office because they told him the House of Representatives was going to impeach him, not be removed in the Senate, but that he was going to be impeached in the House. And that was so humiliating.
Right.
Richard Nixon thought it was less humiliating to resign before his term was over.
Those days are over.
And the days of resigning are over. And you know what? And I think that's a good thing because, what's going on with Trump, this weaponization of the justice system and all this stuff, the politicization of it. How many politicians have been run out of office or dropped out of a race because of what Trump's going through? And they what Al Franken did was bad, but he didn't assault or rape a woman. What he did was really bad.
What he did was juvenile.
It was pretty
and
bad.
Stupid. And I would hope that he would not get reelected. He
shouldn't have been in the Senate anyway.
With him, I think he should have resigned what he did. I think it was really bad.
It was very bad.
It was almost an assault.
The woman was asleep.
I mean, exactly.
It was really bad.
He simulated a sexual act on a military woman who was sleeping. To me, I saw that as an assault.
Was she in the military?
Yeah, it was inside of a tank or something.
It was a military plane. They were flying to a military. I don't know if she was in the service.
I thought he should have resigned. He did the right thing.
It was bad.
I'm sure he regrets it, but it was humiliating for her, for his state, and I don't think he would have won re-election. And I think his wife probably told him, you need to drop out because, or he could have at least maybe said, I'll finish my term. But he would not have won again because every woman in that state.
But now
that
would.
was very offensive.
We're in a new era now.
Now I think he would ride out his term and take.
And maybe even get reelected. He's talking about running for the House of Representatives now.
Oh,
They've been talking about that.
You just can't walk away.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, we are out of time for today. My name's Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we will talk to you next time.